In this segment, we're going to be talking about how Next Education is able to make a world impact. Now, when we talk about making a world impact through education, I think we need to just take a moment and just realize we're not talking about choosing what a world impact is. When you educate children, their world impact is already set. But what you are choosing is you're choosing to align with them and to push them forward. I don't mean by pushing them, I mean by enabling them to do what they're meant to do and to be able to do it better, all right? So when we talk about our world impact, we're not talking about making a strategy where we're going to make clean drinking water for Africa, although that might need to be done. We're not talking about a strategy where we're going to revolutionize child care in an underdeveloped country or something like that. We're not talking about that type of world impact. We're talking about the kind of world impact that is just making these kids able to impact their world in whatever way they were meant to do, okay? Now, then we're going to talk about how Next Education is able to make these kids go farther, because we know that these kids are awesome. We believe in our parents believe in our children, and we should, because it's just a fact, all right? But see, the thing of it is, Next Education is able to make kids go farther than they would have otherwise, and we're going to talk about why, all right? So on this key, first of all, I have this bomb burst showing that there's a big impact, right? A leader impacts the world as and then around here I have different jobs, a parent, a pastor, a missionary, an entrepreneur, professional, government, military servant, media, entertainment, arts, teacher, and this is just some options. I'm not trying to dishonor any certain profession. I kind of went from Bill Bright's Mountains of Influence, and then I kind of changed a little bit in some ways that kind of made some sense to me. So these are some jobs that students from Next Education might be called to fulfill these roles when they've grown, all right? So we're considering the world impact of Next Education, but here I have put these little indicators from the key that just show different things. So first of all, let's talk about these little blue people. I have little blue people here and here because little blue people stands for networking. Now, when we talk about networking, there's some things that we need to realize. First of all, we need to realize that when we're talking about teens, we're talking about kids who are no longer kids. We're talking about kids who are becoming young men and young women. And we have dreams for them, and some of those dreams might include marriage. Not every child, but some need a marriage partner. It's entirely possible that they will end up marrying someone that they meet at Next Education. Wouldn't that be cool? We won't want them to get married when they're 16. However, when they're older, they'll still be in contact and they'll be friends. And so they'll be able to have that strong basis, move into a romantic relationship, and there will be some really successful marriages that'll be made. Not everybody, of course, that's totally fine. However, there will be some. Then also, when we talk about being an entrepreneur, it's really important to go into business with someone you can trust. I have known, and I'm sure you've known, many people who were burned in a business relationship that went bad because of lack of ethics or whatever it might be. And sometimes just personality, they just didn't know each other well enough or whatever, all right? There's a wide variety of reasons that business partnerships don't work. Now, why have a business partnership at all? Well, the reason is very simple. What one person can do and what another person can do, when you put them together, it doesn't become what just they can do additively. It actually becomes exponentially, and it's an exponential growth in what they can do, all right? So when one person and the other person, when they work together, they each do their job so much better, and they're in harmony with each other that they go farther, okay? Now, I'm not saying everybody has to have a business partner, but some kids at Next Education are going to want to go into business, and yay, we need that. So some of those kids are going to meet their business partners right there at Next Education. Networking is key. Obviously, no problem. Obviously, there's a bunch of different places where you need networking, but I'm talking about the kind of networking where high school networking is really going to pay off. And I think that for your entrepreneur and your parent, those are the jobs, a parent is a job. Anyway, those are the jobs where I think you're going to see the strongest high school networking paying off. All right, now let's talk next about the pink heart. The pink heart represents working from the heart. All right, now what I mean by that, some jobs are really done because of the heart. You have to have heart behind them in order to do this job. It's just a necessity. I think that the arts are the most obvious example in my mind of this. The arts are actually a real revelation of your heart. All right, when you paint a picture, what you want to paint about and how you want to paint it reveals something about your heart. I'm a writer, so I'll talk about that. When you're writing something, what you want to make happen in your story really actually reveals your heart. And so there are these jobs that come from the heart. Those aren't the only ones. You also have parents and pastors and missionaries and teachers where they are revealing their heart, they're revealing their love for others as they work. And so in those jobs, coming from the heart is very important. Now, what can Next Education do to make working from the heart better? Well, the fact is that Next Education is able to use that the classical education component in order to give children fine examples of good character, all right? So you have fine examples of good character, and when you have those fine examples of good character and you meditate on them, which is something that children do when they read great literature and they see examples of ethical behavior, not ethical behavior, non-ethical, and so on. When they see all of that, they begin to internalize values, and so their hearts become educated. So you really actually can educate the heart through asking people to treat each other right, training them in how to treat each other right. All these things, you can actually educate the heart. And when you educate the heart, and then they go out into the world to impact the world, and they reveal their hearts, what's there is good. Now, obviously, we have to always trust Jesus the shepherd ultimately, but parents and mentors can play an important role. All right? So that's the pink heart. Then next we consider, I have this little green book, and that stands for ethics. Ethics are key. Now, I represented that with an open book because the standard of our ethics must be the Word of God. So the Christian component is the first thing that we're talking about. The fact that Next Education is a Christian component is what is going to allow these kids to actually be able to impact the world with something that is ethical, because first of all, they have to learn the standards of the Bible. But there's a second way that the children are going to be more ethical because of being at Next Education, and that's the classical component. The classical education, it teaches logical thinking, and over again throughout classical education, you look at great ideas that impacted the world, and you look at logic, and you look at debate skills, and you look at all these different things where you're studying how to make a point, okay? And when you're doing all of this, you're thinking about logic and so on. You practice taking an idea and working it through until you get to the logical conclusion of that idea, all right? Now, when you do that over and over again, you get better at it. And so, therefore, when you have grown and you're in the working world and you're guided by great moral teaching, such as the teachings of Christ in the New Testament, you have the statement that, for example, you should do unto others as you would have others do unto you, and that you should love others as yourself. These are very broad statements, which is the nutshell of pretty much all ethical teaching. It's usually very simple. But the thing of it is, you have to work it all the way through. So what does that look like when I'm in this situation that I'm in now? Well, when you've had that practice from classical education and taking that idea and working it all the way through until you got to the logical conclusion, then you're practiced and you're ready and you're able to apply that biblical teaching to your actual life because you've practiced that process. You've practiced working it through from this all the way through to its logical conclusion. So ethics is key. Now you'll notice that for ethics, I've actually, I went through and I considered each one. I was like, is ethics key? Yes. Is ethics key? Yes. And I decided that ethics was key for absolutely everything on there. It's key for being in all of these career fields. And I think we can all see why, because everybody needs to act ethically, from a parent through a government military servant, and everything on my chart, just everything. There is no place where ethics is not needed. There's a second thing, however, where ethics is okay, sorry. There's a second place where every job needs this thing along with ethics. Okay. The second thing is hearing a different drummer. I think that this is something that, first of all, when I talk about hearing a different drummer, first I need to state that I believe that that different drummer needs to be God. Not everybody hears from God. Not everybody takes the time to discern what God would like and what God would not like, right? And when we have people over here who do and people over there who don't, now please understand I'm not talking about you, but when you have people over here who do, in fact, care what God thinks, they're going to take time, they're going to meditate on it, and that's going to make a difference in their life, okay? Now, but the thing of it is, the people who don't are actually numerically in the majority, especially in our country right now. It feels like it's even more than a numerical majority. It feels like an oppressive force at times. And so there is going to be a real need, not just for these people to be able to, for our students, to be able to hear the voice of God or to discern the Lord's voice in the scriptures and so on, but there's going to be a need for them to be able to be independent thinkers who frankly care more what they think than what the other people around them think, okay? And so we're going to see here that actually Next Education is also going to be able to facilitate that because of the home education piece. So the homeschool education is going to be that piece that's going to allow kids to have their unique thoughts. Why does being around parents and siblings matter when it comes to being unique? Because parents and siblings are able to kind of consider who you are more and understand where you're coming from more. And so your parents and your siblings are always going to be, well, not always, but usually probably going to be more supportive of your unique thoughts. So the last thing we're going to talk about is the new ideas are key. It's the light bulb, all right? Now, new ideas are key everywhere. We're going to have some more new ideas when we're hearing that different drummer and so on. But when I say a new idea, I don't just mean an average idea. We have ideas every day. I mean the kind of big idea that's overarching, that kind of has us redo a whole way that something's done. And I think that there are some ways, some places over here, when a child is called to be an entrepreneur, a professional, and a government or military servant, I think we're going to see that in those places, they have the kind of wide-ranging influence where a new idea can really have a huge amount of impact. Please don't be insulted. Everybody needs new ideas. I just felt that this area of the chart was just kind of more, leadership of others gets bigger and bigger, and especially, for some of these. All right, so here we have the world impact of Next Education. It's obviously through the hearts of children every bit of the way, but these are just some different areas that Next Education is going to have a world impact.